Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. And men are such idiots. I mean, just there it is.
We are.
We are. It just is. All right, somebody who's not an idiot is Bob, who has joined us from San Antonio. Hey, Bob, you there?
Yeah, I'm an idiot, too.
Welcome to the club. Because we're guys.
Hey, can you sub for me next week? You're qualified.
Exactly.
Oh, Lord. I don't know what it is about us. We're just, I call it testosterone poisoning. I think that's about it. Mm-hmm. Oh, well. Mm-hmm. Michelle, you're supposed to say, no, that's not. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was.
You missed your cue.
I was way off with that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, right. She's going, yep.
She takes a week off.
I was too busy nodding.
Yes.
I didn't know there was video in this place.
Everybody's watching everybody. I'm sorry, Bob. I know you called in, but not for that. What's going on?
Well, I favor revolvers generally, although I've been carrying a small Glock, a 26. But, bottom feeders never really do it for me. So
bottom feeders, I love it.
Oh, I love that.
So anyway, I was carrying an LCR 357, which I think is the perfect small revolver if you talk about the J-frame size, because it's a little bit heavier than your air weights. And so I've never shot 357 in it. I've just shot 38, but I can do 38 plus P, 38 plus P with no problem whatsoever. Just pop them right off and it doesn't hurt.
And they have a really good trigger pull.
Yes, they have a really good trigger pull, and I put the Crimson Trace grips on it, which are bigger than the Ruger grips, and in a belt holster. It doesn't matter at all anyway. And so I was packing that, and I was out walking in my neighborhood, and I heard a loud barking and growling, and looked over and saw a dog directly across the street. And that's about the moment he decided to charge me.
Oh!
And this was a large dog, and when his nails hit the sidewalk, because he was sitting on a lawn. I suddenly had the pistol in my hand, and I'd never, I'd practiced drawing it and all that, but I'd never really, said, I'm going to draw now. It just was suddenly there. I know that sounds a little hard to believe, but it was suddenly in the hand.
Right.
And, but thankfully I practiced drawing and not squeezing the trigger, just drawing. And so I put it back behind my leg, turned the laser off, relax my hands, the laser turned off. And if I had not had that, I might have been tempted to run. And had I run, I think I would have been in a real bad situation with a large dog chasing me down. Mm-hmm. But since I knew I could put 5 rounds into him real quick, and they were all FBI loads, so I figured I could probably anchor him if I had to, but I didn't want to. And so I was able to then, make myself look as big as possible and yell at him. And he was about halfway across the street, maybe 2/3 of the way across the street when he stopped.
Interesting.
And I was in Tooler drill territory there when he finally stopped, and I was yelling. I had the left hand out and was, bad dog, go home, and he stopped.
Well, what's interesting, what I'm hearing though, what's interesting is your thought process that if you hadn't had the gun, you would have behaved differently, possibly. And as we know, running away triggers that predatory instinct, going after prey, and you can actually encourage the dog to go after you. You didn't have to use the gun, but the gun made the difference.
Mm-hmm.
But could I have faced him with the 2-inch knife that I also had?
Well, yeah, but that gets ugly real fast.
Do you want him that close?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been my other option, would be, going mano a mano with a dog. And I don't really want to go bad breath distance with a hostile canine.
No.
I figured I could have been permanently injured very easily. And maybe I should have fired, but thankfully he stopped before I had to.
No. If you didn't have to, you didn't have to, and it ended well, so it sounds like a success. I want to go back, though, because I have a friend who was actually in a shooting, and he said the same thing. He said, I don't remember drawing the gun or shooting. And it's like you said, the gun just appeared in my hand, and it was there. Mm-hmm. And you go, wow, how'd that happen?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know how it happened, but
well, but you know what it is? It's all that practice.
I was wearing it in a hybrid Kydex and leather holster, the leather backing and the Kydex outer layer, Kydex shell. A guy named Jimmy from Colster used to make them, and unfortunately he no longer makes them. But anyway, so it was on top of one T-shirt with another T-shirt hanging over it. The standard kind of hot weather carry.
Right. I like that style of carry, actually.
And I made a one-hand quick draw, quick draw, but off in its right hip. Mm-hmm. I didn't consciously decide to draw. I realized I had to. I mean, it was so quick.
Right.
He was going to be on top of me in a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I mean, there's no time to fool around. It's like, okay, get it out. And what the other thing that's interesting here, guys, is what happened, Bob, is that people say, well, I hear people say, well, if you draw, then you ought to just go ahead and shoot. Well, no, there's like 100 microseconds or whatever it is that gives you a chance to change your mind all the way up until you actually fire the shot. And so even after you had the gun out, you were reassessing the whole time.
My brain was going 1,000 miles an hour, and I decided to turn off the laser, put it behind your leg. At the same time, I was yelling at the dog, and that was because I was hoping that the owner was somewhere around and would appear and bring the dog back inside. I'd never seen the dog before either, so that was another, it wasn't like this was a chronic problem. So I was hoping that, we saved the dog's life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, as we say, anytime you don't have to shoot it's a good day. Yeah. But you could have, of course, changed your mind again if it kept coming. You had the gun ready. You could have come back around. The thing is, you don't have to shoot very far. Even if he's inside 10 feet, you can shoot 3 or 4 times at a dog and turn him or stop him. Basically shooting him off your feet almost if you had to.
And if he got on me, I could put it right up against his rib cage and start trip hammering rounds into him.
Good point with the revolver. You don't have to worry about it going out of battery with the contact shot.
No, and it's hammerless, so it's not going to snag. So yeah, it's really in a lot of ways a perfect gun. If it just would carry about 15 rounds, it'd be even better. But
then it'd be a bottom feeder, right?
Then I'd have to go to a suppository gun, and I really prefer the revolver.
Oh.
Don't they make just like a really big cylinder? It kind of looks like a drum mag you could use instead.
Sure, yeah, it's one of those. It looks like a dinner plate in the revolver, the cylinder in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, it just seems like the steel framed LCRs are really I think they're some of their best guns.
Yeah, a buddy of mine just ordered the 3-inch 357 LCR X with the hammer because he wanted the hammer for basically for walking in the woods and camping and that kind of a deal. So that's his use for it. So he wanted to have the option of the hammer if he needed.
Well, with that barrel length, he can start a campfire easy enough.
Survival
Those
situation.
Flamethrowers, yeah.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, Anyway, I've never shot 357 out of it, but one of these days I might just try it when I feel like some pain.
All you need to do is just borrow 5 rounds from a friend. You don't need any more than that.
Well, I do have 357. I have a gun that's extremely pleasant to shoot it in. It's called a Contender.
Okay.
You can shoot 357 full house out of that all day.
Oh, yeah. Which length barrel? 14?
10.
10, okay. Yeah, you can shoot that all day.
Weighs
accurate.
37 pounds.
Well, they just shoot so well. The Contenders are so much fun. Really
has a fantastic trigger with a scope on it.
Yeah. It's the guys that use those for metallic silhouette shooting and all. So cool. Well, look, I appreciate the range report. I'm glad you turned out okay. I'm glad the dog's okay. But it is a real interesting insight into how that goes. And, I mean, what would you think the elapsed time was from the initial mental trigger of what's going on to when it was over? 3 seconds?
10 seconds.
10
the whole
seconds?
thing, including the yelling. 15.
Okay. Right.
And that's about when I heard a woman's voice start yelling at the dog, and the dog went and took off.
Yep. All right. Well, I think you played that perfectly. I just think, she never knew that you had the gun, and you wouldn't have, used it unless you absolutely had to when it's right on top of you. I just think there was a lot of good decision-making going on there.
Well, thanks. And I just had to let my heart slow down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh,
hey, Bob, and I want to go to bat for you, Bob. I honestly, after this call, I don't think you're that much of an idiot.
Well, it's a sliding scale, though.
Good job, Bob.
Oh, thanks. Trying to rise above my gender.
Good luck.
There you go. And don't be a bottom feeder. Okay.
Great call.